Yo, what's up everybody? It's your homie Zofer. Now today's video is going to be quick. We just have two new mouse pads to go over. First one is going to be from Midori pads. It is called The Girl. This is a 500 by 500 4mm thick pad with what they are calling a Starshine poly base. This is a controlled surface that I found to perform very well in Valorant, and the base on this thing looks absolutely sick, super unique. It sticks to my desk just fine too. I have no issues there, and it has never moved while gaming. This thing has below surface stitching that is clean for the most part, no fraying or tears by any means, and you certainly do not feel the stitching on your arm when gaming. There is a lot of texture when gliding your mouse over this pad. There's more texture going horizontal across the pad than there is swiping vertically, and it does vary by skates too. When using dot skates, you don't feel as much of the texture, but with stock final mouse skates, I can feel it a decent amount. I've spoken to Midori about this to verify if there is supposed to be a difference in X and Y speed, and they stated they noticed this on the review units as well, and the final release fabric will be more similar to a Zero and have an identical X and Y. The softness is somewhere between Zero X soft and soft, like dead in the middle of the two, I would say. Depending on how much you press down on the pad, there is some dig, but I personally do not feel it while gaming. Dynamic friction is close to a Zero, but static friction is much less than a Zero. Like I said earlier though, Midori is stating the final surface is going to be closer to a Zero, so there's a good chance that the static friction increases on the final production copies. As far as how I performed with this pad in game, pretty good. My main pad recently has been the Zero X soft, so I've been switching to this pad whenever I just want to break and just want something a little bit quicker. Micro corrections on this thing feel great, but still controlled, and by no means is this so fast that I'm overshooting. I felt precise when playing Val on this thing, and I think for Midori's first pad, there's a lot of potential here. Not to mention this graphic is super sick. I'm pretty sure it's hand-drawn. I'm pretty sure the artist drew this image and then they ended up having it printed on the pad, but I'm not 100% sure. I could have sworn I saw that on Twitter. I also figured that I'd mention quick that this thing is shipped double boxed and flat packed, so there is definitely no need to worry when it comes to wrinkles or any damaging on the pad from shipping. Just throwing my mouse around on this thing, you can get an idea of the speed. These are final mouse stock skates, and I mean, it's going, but static friction is pretty high. It's definitely a control pad. By no means is this a hybrid pad. This is a control pad. So the next pad we have in this video is the Tenta-X, The Last Stand. This mouse pad is a very high quality pad. This black and white design is super sick and unique. There is no anime woman on the pad, which is very refreshing. Honestly, both of the pads in this video have been very refreshing designs. This pad is sporting a jacquard fabric and is a very apparent hybrid surface. If you've used a hybrid pad before, you know they tend to sport a little bit of a grainier texture, and this pad does just that, but much smoother than something like a Heian. With stock final mouse skates, this thing has a very balanced initial friction. It doesn't take much to get your mouse moving, and once moving, it is a faster pad. I would say it's a hybrid pad, but leaning more towards the fast side of things ever so slightly. The glide feels consistent throughout the entire pad. X and Y properties feel exactly the same, and the softness of this pad, I would say, is artisan soft. One gripe I have with this thing is the size. 490 by 420 is not a deal breaker, but I would really prefer this thing was 500 by 500 like the Midori pad. I personally just like 500 by 500 because I don't like being restricted in how much of my arm I can have on the desk. I know a lot of low sense players out there like the 500 by 500 because they need as much pad space as possible as well. The base this has feels very similar to Poron, but it is not. They're calling it Apex Grip Tech, but regardless, it does not slip around on my desk at all, and it even gets stuck to the surface like Artisan Poron does. The stitching on this thing is very good below the surface stitching. The manufacturers are getting so good with these mouse pads, it's really hard to point out physical flaws with any of the new pads I've tried recently. As far as how I performed on this thing in Valorant, it wasn't too fast for Valorant by any means, but when playing my normal sense 47 cm, it just had a little less control than what I'm looking for. When using a lower sense though, the static friction allowed for micro adjustments to be quick but still controlled. The dynamic friction feels very unrestricted, and stopping power is very low compared to a control pad. So if that's something you're looking for, definitely check this out. I personally just play my best on control pads, so this pad wasn't for me, but that doesn't mean that it's not for you. Thank you to Tenta-X and Midori for sending these pads out. If y'all did enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will talk to y'all in the next one. Peace.